If you were going to be doing one exercise, one thing that was going to carry the power to create tremendous change for you in your life, the exercise would be to every single morning wake up, move somewhere inside of your home with the sole intention to get to know yourself. Welcome to the Empowered Life Podcast, a space dedicated to one belief that you have the power within to create everything you seek. So if you are ready to step into a new kind of higher learning, the kind that leads to true personal freedom, hang here with me. I'm your host, Rudi Riekstins, and this is the Empowered Life. Welcome to the Empowered Life Podcast. My name is Rudi Riekstins. I'm your host, and I am abundantly grateful, as always, to have you here. Today, I'm going to be sharing with you a question that came up inside of my membership community. I often look at what are the questions that are coming up within the community as an example of what are the questions that people are asking externally. I also believe that, well, when the student is ready, the teacher appears. And so I am always paying attention to these questions and knowing that if it is being asked in the community and people are asking these questions outside of the community, then that means that they are ready for the information. The information in itself is the teacher. And I hope that you are open to hearing what is such a profound message. And I use that terminology often, but I use it very sparingly, meaning that when I say it, I genuinely mean it is profound. It is profound because it has changed my life. The answer to the question has changed my life. And it's something I bring into businesses. It's something I bring into my relationships with my one-on-one clients. It's something I teach my children. And it is a way of being for myself. And so I know that as I have journeyed through my life, through my experience, that in having had my life experience and tested, tried, poked and prodded with all of the different modalities of living an abundantly empowered life, that these tools and the exercises that I have essentially navigated to get me to where I am today were not just exclusively for me alone. And that as I try and test and fail and figure out what is going to work best for me, that is really a part of my journey, which is to turn around and to teach it. Inside of my membership, I do trainings every 2 weeks. And then at the end of these trainings, I open up for a Q&A where I give people that are inside of my membership an opportunity to ask questions and get essentially what would be reserved for my one-on-one clients, an opportunity to get hot seat coaching. And this gentleman from Hawaii raised his hand right at the end of my Q&A, and we were about to log off, and he said, man, I've been wanting to ask this question, a burning desire to know this answer. And he's been within the community, I want to say, for about 8-9 months now. And so he unmutes himself, asks his question, and the question was, every 2 weeks, he is on these calls. He is learning, he is absorbing information. He religiously follows every one of the practices that are being taught. And he turned around and he said, what would be the one single exercise or practice that you recommend is the very first place, if it were the only place a person could begin? And the reason he asked the question was because he has, as he mentioned, paid so much attention to every single lesson, every single one of the trainings, and he is feverishly trying to implement everything. And he said, it's a little overwhelming. It's overwhelming to look at all of this information and to be able to identify, well, what's the most important? Because every week I am continuing to add more context, deeper layers, going even further into the work. And although we're scratching the surface because it goes so deep, that he was saying every week I'm trying to add the next thing and the next thing. And it's like, it's so much. What do I need to focus in on? And I really loved the question. I love the question because if he's asking the question, as I said up at the beginning of the episode today, it means that other people are asking the same question, not just with me and within my membership, but just anywhere. We are in an age of information. There is an influx of information being thrown at us every single day through the devices in our hands, what's on TV, what we see in the news, who we speak to. And it's really hard to be discerning in what it is that you should be doing in the moment. Because again, there's just so many things we could be doing. And so he asked a very, very pointed question. If I was going to give you one tool, one tip, one thing that you would do, and that would be the place that you would begin, but also if it was the only thing you did, what would that one thing be that would create the greatest change? And my answer to him was, well, multifaceted. They usually are. But my response to him was, all the tools that you're learning inside of the membership are necessary depending on what is happening in your day. And so I'm not going to take away from the value of anything that you're learning, meaning that, a few weeks ago, we spoke about Ho'oponopono. And Ho'oponopono is a Polynesian belief that everything carries energy and that you, by taking accountability for the energy, for the fact that you experienced something, that you essentially were the reason for the experience. And that if you clear your part in that, the energy in that, that you can clear the energy in all of it. Now, I'm really paraphrasing a very, very, very deep conversation, but he's practicing Ho'oponopono. And so he was saying, well, how do I know which one's the right one and when to do it? And I was like, well, when you feel like there's something in your life you need to clean or clear, well, that would be a good time to pull out that tool. But that's not the place that I would recommend you start. And so the point I'm making in today's episode is that if you were going to be doing one exercise, one thing that was going to carry the power to create tremendous change for you in your life, the exercise would be to every single morning wake up, move somewhere inside of your home with the sole intention to get to know yourself. It sounds biblical to say, know thyself. And I do think that it carries such a powerful spiritual truth because, Socrates said that we should know thyself. But I believe that God is asking of us to know ourselves, to know who we are, to know what it feels like to be us without emotion, to know who we are when we are in our absolute inner knowing, trusting, and to only ever take actionable steps from that truth. The majority of us wake up every single day, and I'm going to put it out at 98% of people on the planet are living a reactionary life. They walk into a room, they react, respond to whatever is happening externally outside of them. And it is the people that know themselves intimately, know who they are. And I'm going to give you the tools to do this. And it's not hard. It's just going to take you time. And it's time and attention, time and attention. And with time and attention, you're going to have a level of awareness, and awareness as to who you are and what it feels like to be you without excitement, without resentment, without frustration. Every single meditation that I have, which is available for purchase on my website, every time I do a training within an organization, anytime I'm doing mental rehearsal for companies and sales teams, there's always at least 7 minutes in the beginning of me saying, breathe in, breathe out, and release stress, release fear, release anxiety, and find your centered self. The reason I do this is because it takes approximately 7 to 8 minutes for your body to completely come back to neutral. And I'm meaning if you're proficient at it, it takes roughly 7 to 8 minutes for somebody to really be able to, in a meditative state, be able to find their centered, calm self, detached from what was, detached from what will be, and detached from what is, and just being. I think the single greatest skill set that we can have in today's day and age, I'm going to say especially in today's day and age, with the volume of triggers that we have outside and in the external environment, would be to know yourself, to know who you are, to know what it feels like to be you without influence. And if you could just spend some time every single morning connecting to what it feels like to be you, connecting to what it feels like to be you in your power, and only ever getting up from your couch in the morning when you've been able to connect to that. This week, Wednesday, I had a really interesting experience. I woke up Wednesday morning, sat down on my couch at 5 a.m., around 4:45. And I started to meditate. And my music track that I was listening to that day was a 20-minute track. And so 20-minute mark, the music stopped. And I opened my eyes and I realized, wow, I have anxiety in my belly. Like I can feel it. And so I did what I do, knowing I cannot get up and off my couch with that, because if I'm feeling anxiousness, if I'm feeling frustration, resentment, any of those emotions, that's actually going to negatively impact all the decisions I make. It's going to impact who I'm going to be today. I'll be someone acting from feelings of anxiety. But I didn't really have anything in my life that I could be nervous or anxious about. So I sat back down and I did another 20-minute meditation. And this time I actually focused in on where was I feeling the anxiety, and I was breathing into that space in my body, breathing into the anxiety and then feeling what does that feel like, and then releasing it. So in bringing in calm, clear, bright white light, and then breathing out as if I imagine this stress, this fear, this anxiety is leaving my body. And when I got myself to a place where I felt generally neutral, I asked the question of my body, why were you feeling anxious? What are you anxious about? And what's really interesting, when you ask questions of yourself, of your body, you're going to get information. You will, if you're listening, get the answer. And immediately, I thought of the interview that was coming up for me later that morning. I was going to be interviewed on a very, very large platform with a very big person in the self development space that I have admired from afar for many, many years. And they've invited me to be on their show. And so when I woke up, I immediately had that level of anxiety, nervousness, and maybe just a pinch of excitement. When I sat down and meditated, and I realized, wow, I'm really anxious. I'm like, why am I anxious? I sat back down, I did the exercise again, and I was able to significantly reduce and calm myself. But I still felt that at the end of the second cycle, 40 plus minutes later, of being in a calm, quiet, meditative state, breathing in, breathing out. And I was like, interesting. I still have this level of anxiety. And I asked myself, again, further validating the body, because the body is always speaking to you. Why are you nervous? What are you carrying? And then I realized I needed this person to see me. I needed them to actually see Rudi for who he is, and in some way to maybe validate me, and in some way for them, being who they are with the impact that they create, to see me as an equal. And in that moment, I was placing all of my worth, all of my value externally outside of me and giving it to somebody else. And whether they see me or not could never, ever, not today, tomorrow, in a million years, validate me. And yet, unconsciously, that's exactly what I was doing. I was needy and needing someone to validate me. And so when I realized that, I had made breakfast, got my kids off to school. I then went back into my office and I re-centered myself with this new information, breathing in, breathing out, breathing in, breathing out. And I did an exercise completely calming, clearing my mind and my body with this level of information. I got to a place of being absolutely calm, neutral, whole. The reason I used the term whole was because in that moment of breathing in and breathing out and breathing in and breathing out, and getting to a place where I realized there was nothing someone else could give me to make me whole, that I already am. I was created whole. I will live whole. And the only difference is whether I have awareness to my wholeness or not. And in that moment, I realized I don't need validation. I am everything I need to be. And I breathed into that. I breathed in wholeness. And then I felt my body settle, calm, shift, and the most beautiful feeling of my body expanding, as if every single cell inside my physical body began to vibrate, as if it was somehow recoded and recalibrated to the frequency of wholeness. And I put a pin in the feeling of who I am in my truth, whole. And from that vantage point, I stood up off my couch, went forward and into my day. My interview went incredibly well, better than I ever could have imagined. If I was looking for validation, I got 10 times the validation that I could have ever expected. The thing is, when I went into that, I wasn't expecting anything or needing anything or wanting anything. My sole purpose and intent in the moment was just to give selflessly of myself, as you've heard me say countless times, just to share, to teach, to uplift, and to inspire. But had I not done the exercise, I probably would have shown up needy. I probably would have had needy energy. I probably would have pushed and or repelled the interviewer away from me not because they didn't like me or my words, but because my energy would have been in a incongruence to theirs or to who I really am, and there would have been a disconnect. And so when I answer the question for this gentleman in my membership, as I take you through the story, here is why this is so important for you to know. Every day, every single day, in every moment, in every way, when you walk into a room, you are communicating. I would say half of your body, your energy is going out and it is tapping into everything that is around you. And it is either repelling people, opportunities, moments, and situations, or it's pulling ones that meet and match the way that you feel. And if you feel nervous and anxious and worried, you're going to create from nervousness, anxiousness, and worriedness. If you feel wholeness, abundance, joy, fulfillment, freedom, then you're going to be drawing and experiencing, mirroring and matching those experiences. The reason I say know thyself, the greatest lesson that you could literally adopt into your day every single day is for you to learn, thus the lesson, learn what it feels like when you do not need anything from anyone. You are already whole. When you're connected to the divinity that created you, when you remember in that moment what it feels like to be you without the worries of the future, the resentments of the past, the expectations of a potential that may never come, but just being enough. And in that, you are the likeness of how you were created by the Creator. And in being the likeness of the Creator, whole, beautiful, you are remembering who you are. And if you can put a emotional pin in what that feels like, asking yourself in the calmness, what does it feel like to be me right now, whole, healed, happy, enough, worthy? And in that, you can lean into the emotion of what that feels like. That is you. And then as you move forward out and in your day, you're going to pick up expectations. You're going to have frustrations, resentments. And the moment you feel that your body has shifted from the way that you were feeling in the morning, you now know how to get back there because you created a roadmap. I refer to this as the yellow brick road, literally the Wizard of Oz. How do you travel back to the knowingness of who you are, to the truth of your existence? And the only way to do that is if you've been there before. Because if you've never been there before, you wouldn't have a roadmap for you to be able to navigate back. And so breathing in and out and in and out and in and out, not only for 7 minutes, for as long as it takes for you to become completely calm and completely neutral. Now, I'm going to share with you that on average, I can do this in 10 to 15 minutes, 20 minutes on an average day. But there are days where I do it for an hour. Sometimes I'll do it for an hour and a half. But I don't do it for that long because I necessarily need it. It's because I want it. I just want to stay in it because it is so beautiful and it is so blissful. But if you could commit to every single day, 10 minutes, and then expanding it to 15, and spending between 15 to 20 minutes every day for the rest of your life, connecting to that inner stillness, the calm, the confidence, the knowingness of who you are, and you can focus in, cloning, what that feels like. Could you produce that result later? Could you come back to it later? Because if you're in a heightened state of emotion and you've never been able to create the calm, you don't know what that feels like, you're never going to be able to find it. And so my answer to the gentleman in my membership community, my answer to you, my beg of everyone that hears these words today is spend time identifying what it feels like to be you without emotion. And so here's how simple the process is. Sit down, feet firmly pressed on the floor, back straight, take in a deep breath, close your eyes. Allow your body to relax. So with every single breath in, I want you to draw in clear, calming, bright white light from above, as if it is being absorbed in the top of your head and traveling down an elongated spine. And when you breathe out, I want you to imagine your body's becoming more relaxed, like your shoulders drop, your face drops, the skin around your face relaxes, and you breathe out any stress, any fear, any anxiety, any attachment. And then you're going to breathe in and replace as if you are siphoning in and out the clear and the calm and releasing any of the shame, the guilt, the resentment, the frustration. And you just keep doing that until you start to feel your body coming back into itself. And now pay attention to, what does that feel like? Feel the relief. Enjoy the relief. Stay connected to that feeling. You can now elevate that emotion if you want, or you can simply just focus in on what does it feel like to be unattached, but remembering you are already whole, enough, and worthy. And then standing up and moving forward in your day and returning back to this exercise anytime that you need it. You just go out, live your day, catch yourself in a heightened state of emotion, positive or negative, and say, interesting, what does that feel like in my body? What's that trying to tell me? And then go and find a quiet place to sit. For me, oftentimes it can be my car. And I'll breathe in and out and just bring myself back to the center and then continue to move forward in my day. The majority of people that I work with say to me, I don't have time to sit on a couch. Good Lord, Rudi, you just said on Wednesday morning, you meditated for 20 minutes. You then meditated for another 20 minutes. And then you went off, got your kids off to school. You came back and you meditated again for another 20 minutes. Like, I don't have that kind of time. And here's what I want you to know. My life has proven to be that when you slow down, you're actually speeding up. Because anything that I would have created with the feelings of stress, fear, and anxiety, I may have moved forward faster in the moment, and maybe would have pushed and created forward movement. But anything created in anxiety or stress is actually going to create dysregulation, more dysregulation in my future. And that's going to slow me down. And then it's going to take longer to move through that. But if I pause in the moment, an extra 20 minutes, an extra 10 minutes, in this instance, a total of an hour, it actually sped everything up for me because I had zero emotional or energetic debris between who I was in that moment and what I was creating. There was no resistance. I was simply able to move through and forward faster. And so that's my lesson to you. If you don't know who you are truly at the core, then how can you possibly get back there when you need it? And I'm going to say with you, the greatest thing that you could do for yourself every day is to become intimately and abundantly aware of what it feels like to simply just be you. I hope you practice this today. I would love to hear from you. So hit me up on Instagram, Facebook, or drop a comment inside of the platform where you are consuming your podcasts, because I will share with you that this so beautifully, boldly, and profoundly changed everything for me. And I want to hear from you as to how it changes you. Share this episode with somebody that you think might benefit from hearing this, and find it in your heart to smash 5 stars and leave me a comment by rating and reviewing. Helps me get this message out to more people. I love you. I appreciate you. And thank you so much for joining me on the Empowered Life podcast. And you go out and have an amazing day. Until the next time. Bye-bye. If this episode gave you clarity, peace, or a perspective shift, hold on to that. And here is how you lock it in. Subscribe so that you keep building momentum week after week. And if you're the kind of person that believes a good message should travel, please leave a review. Reviews aren't just ratings. They're signals that help this reach the people who are ready for it. And then share this episode with somebody you love, someone you lead, or somebody that you were rooting for. Links are in the show notes so that you can connect with me online and on Instagram. Now go out there and take one beautiful, bold, and aligned step and make it count. I'm going to catch you on the next episode of the Empowered Life Podcast.